Welcome. I'm Nancy from Black Sheep Knitting in Needham, Massachusetts. This is my weekly podcast, and we talk about yarn and patterns, and we show tips and tricks and all kinds of things, and we try to interview people. And today I'm going to introduce you to Erika Field, who is a designer and is going to talk about a knit-along for food. But to start out, I have a little tip, and I've talked to you about this before. This is called a color catcher, and they're sheets. They look like dryer sheets, and I put them in the water when I'm blocking my sweaters to catch colors. I also put it in my washing machine when I'm washing colors, and you'd be surprised how much color ends up on one of these sheets. So you can find these in the, I found them yesterday at Market Basket. I went to Market Basket because I decided I need to start saving money on food because it's getting expensive. And I was shocked at how much money I saved going to Market Basket. Their prices are amazing. I don't need to go on and on, but if you have a Market Basket near you, go make a once a month trip and stock up on stuff. So I found this in the detergent aisle, and this particularly if you have if you're doing a piece that has two colors in it or more than two colors, can often be excess dye, and it can be in any of the yarns that you buy. It's not uncommon to find it even in the big yarn producers. So I keep a store of these, and I use them all the time. So I do recommend them. You just throw them in the wash with your items, and you'll be surprised at how much comes out. So I have another tip today. Robin came in today with an emergency on this gorgeous sweater called the Bonnie sweater. It's a cardigan. It has this gorgeous Latvian braid, and Agnes, who's Latvian, can tell us about it. But it's here on the ribbing and on the ribbing on the sleeve. And then it has this beautiful detail on the back, a little split in the back in the ribbing. But here was the issue on this sweater. Robin picked up, I think according to the directions, I'm assuming, and she was getting, it was not going flat right here. So this was curling up. She hadn't picked up the right proportion of stitches, I think, for it. And Robin, you said you have wet blocked this, but have you wet blocked the ribbing too?
No, I'd only
okay, so the wet,
okay, and then picked up the stitches per instructions.
Right, but sometimes you have to change your ratio of skipping one or picking up three, skip one. Sometimes you have to play around with that. Luckily, this is a small expanse, but it can be frustrating if you have to do all the way around when you're picking up, because you can't really see what it's going to do till you picked it all up. If you have to do the front, the back of the neck, and down the other side of the front, you aren't going to see if you picked up correctly. So what I'm going to show Robin, and she has had some, when she cast off here, it just sort of scrunched in like this. So I said, did you do I just blanked on what you call it. Did you do an elastic bind off? And she said, no, what's that? So I'm going to show you a bind off that I like to use a lot. And you can fool around, which I think Robin did. You can, if you need to, you can fool around with the size of the needle that you do also on here. You could do a smaller, larger, depending on how it comes out. So I think she did go up a little bit. But this elastic bind off I like very much. So what you're going to do, and it's super simple, you're going to knit into knit two together through the back loop of 2 stitches. And I always, when I bind off, I make sure that I give a tiny tug on this stitch that I've created from the knit two together. Now I'm going to move this back over to my left hand needle, and I'm going to knit through the back again. And what this does, it makes it just a little bit more stretchy. And I take it off, and again you can see I've pulled out the stitch a little bit. And you want to, as you get used to doing this and you do this more often, you always want to pull that stitch out a little bit, and the same amount each time. I'm picking up some of the mohair there. There we go. So you want to make sure, and I do it about that much each time. So I put it back on the left needle, and I again knit into the back. So does that sound reasonable, Robin?
Perfect.
So what it does is it gives you a stretchier bind off. Again, you might want to play around with this to make sure you're not too tight or too loose. If you're too tight, I would tug a little bit longer on that stitch that you create when you knit two together. So that's a stretchy bind off. So I mentioned that we are going to talk with, this is Erika Field, who is a designer and an avid, beautiful, beautiful knitter. And she's local, which is really nice. So lives in a town close to us. But she has gotten involved with a program called Knit-For-Food that was an idea of Laura Nelkin, who is a designer, also a knitwear designer. And we have agreed to host a knit-a-thon here at the shop. And I'm going to let Erika tell you, and then we're going to talk about that, and then I'm going to ask her some questions and about designing and some of the new patterns that she has coming out. So welcome, Erika.
Thanks for having me, Nancy.
So tell us about how you found out about this Knit-For-Food and what it really is.
Sure. Well, a friend of mine who's also a tech editor has been doing it since the beginning.
Yeah.
And I've supported her in the past and cheered her on. And then this year I saw Irina Shah do the interview on Fiber Chats with Laura Nelkin and really thought, you know what, it was very inspirational. Let's jump in.
Great. So how does it work?
Sure.
Exactly.
So it's like any grassroots fundraising campaign that you might see where donations starting at $5 add up to a lot of money. And knitters or any other craft, you don't have to be a knitter, you'll commit to doing 12 hours of crafting that day. And you'll get supporters just like you would if you were running a 5K or doing any of these other ideas. This was inspired by Gilmore Girls and Laura Nelkin's daughter, who was home from college during COVID, and she just saw an unbelievable need for food and hunger, food insecurity in her own town.
Right. So the organizations that you can target your donation to, there are 4 of them?
There are 4, and it's divided evenly. So if you pledge to support one of the knitters, that it's divided between World Central Kitchen, Feeding America, No Kid Hungry, and Meals on Wheels, with the idea of covering multi-generations as well as the entire United States and some work abroad.
Right. I donate to World Central Kitchen because I just think Jose Andres, that's his name, right, is amazing. But all the others, Meals on Wheels, they're just amazing programs. So what we have agreed to do, and I guess, are they all happening on March 26th?
March 26th. It's a 12-hour event, but the event in the shop will do from 1 to 4
1
p.m.
to 4. So we're going to do it here. It's a Sunday afternoon. And what you'll do is you can call in and sign up. And we just ask you to do that because we have to be sure we have enough chairs So, and so if a person wants to participate and come and knit, they would send a donation. You can do it online.
Ideally, what we like is that either someone signs up themselves for the knit-a-thon, and so if you look online, knit-a-thon, Knit-For-Food, you will find out how to sign up on there and have your own profile on Give Butter, where you can raise money from friends and family. Or if you don't want to do your own profile, to donate to either me, Erika Field, or Irina Shar with Fiber Chats, and then come join us that day.
Okay. So it could be any amount. We
Yes.
would like people, if you're raising money, if you're asking people, we would like you to see if you could get $100. $100 goes a long way for food.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could, ask your company or your friends, your neighbors, would you support me for $10? Get 10 friends.
Right.
And I'm going to be knitting at Black Sheep Knitting on Sunday, March 26th for 3 hours.
Yes.
Yeah, so we're going to do 3 hours of knitting there. And if you're an avid knitter, in a couple of days you do 12 hours easily. Or I do anyway. It's sad to say because I have no life, I suppose. But it's a great idea. Do we have any idea of how this is? I've seen it advertised a little bit, but
This is the third year, and I believe both years they surpassed, the first year I think was $260,000. They've surpassed $500,000. And I spoke with Laura about this because I have a fundraising background myself.
right.
So,
I was going to say that
Yeah.
Erika was, in a past life, was a fundraiser.
yes, and before jumping in wholly, I wanted to understand really how she was running it and be able to answer questions for people who might donate to me that I could feel comfortable answering. And so they have raised that largely through $5 and $10 and $20 gifts. There
Yeah.
have been some $1,000 plus gifts, but
Right.
we're really talking about people doing the proverbial cup of coffee.
Right.
And so it's
Right.
added up so much.
That's great. So, don't ask people for $5. If you feel like it, if you have, or your company, your husband's company, if you have just friends and neighbors or relatives who would like to support something, and $5, you spend that on coffee, in a week. So it goes a long way. So we'll be mentioning it again in an email and how you can donate and how you can sign up to come in. We'll have fun. I think we decided we might have some giveaways and little gifts for people who participate. We'll probably have refreshments, maybe some music, be an opportunity to meet some other knitters, and just have fun doing something that's really worthwhile. And we love to support charities and things here in the shop. So I think this is going to be a lot of fun, and people will really, I think people would like to donate. I think it's a great, easy way to do it. So the other reason we have Erika here is that Erika is a designer, and she's going to show us some of her latest designs. You probably have seen her, I always say it wrong, Aquina?
Yes.
Aquina Cowl.
Yes.
And she did a workshop here and has done some hats and now is doing some cowls. And when did you start designing?
I started designing just over a year ago. So December 2021. Does that math work out right? Was my first released pattern.
Yeah. And how much, that must have been a huge amount of work to do because you have to get a tech editor.
Yes.
You have to write it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to knit it. And then you have to get knitters. How hard was that?
Well, I am very fortunate to have a wonderful friend and knitter who is an amazing tech editor. So she was very helpful getting me started. Test knitters can be hard to find. Now I use a program called Yarn Pond. And
what is that?
It is a program where you sign up, you post your designs, and it's a test call that's international. So I think the biggest surprise has been I've had testers all over the world.
fun. And so what they do, you send the pattern to them, and then they knit it in whatever yarn they
Exactly. You can specify,
Yeah.
or you can have people use many things. And I would prefer a broader audience because that's what's going to happen when the real pattern is released into the real world.
Exactly. So you'd like people to try different things.
Yes.
I suppose it's important that they get gauge.
Well, it's interesting. It depends. I've designed a lot of accessories to start, and I think gauge is one of those things, and swatching is one of those things that you could sit and talk for hours about the benefits and drawbacks, and it really comes down to the type of knitter and what result do you want and what are you willing to do to get it.
Right, right. And how about like writing the pattern and putting it on Ravelry? Was that hard to figure out?
Not the technical side of it in terms of, posting and getting it out there, but getting it right to begin with is something where when you knit so often, you think, okay, it's not going to be too hard. I'll write it and I'll do it. And for me, I'd say about 80% of that is true. And then there's the 20% that is far harder than I could have imagined. Why isn't this lining up in a way when I write it like this or when I chart it like this?
Yeah.
And I say the tech editor that I use, she's a partner. We'll go back and forth. And it's a real process. It's a dance to get it right.
Right. And so how long does that whole process take you, say, for a hat?
It depends. And a lot of my patterns, for better or for worse, I don't just put out a simple pattern because so many people are doing that.
Right, exactly.
And I'm not a designer who's putting out 10 things a month and doing it full time.
Right.
I like to say I do it professionally,
Yeah.
but it's not my profession.
Right.
I'm not relying on it for grocery money.
Right.
However, if I'm going to put something out, I want it to be professional. So I
Exactly.
take all the steps to do it the right way.
Right. Well, and that can lead to a whole career.
Yes.
I know you have a young son, so I'm sure that
Yeah.
a lot of your time is spent dealing with him, but he's going to grow up and
Right.
That could be a fun. If you decide not to go back to fundraising,
Right.
this could be a lot more fun.
Yes,
I
it is
suspect.
in many ways. I mean, fundraising is also fun, but it's intense.
Yeah. So show us what your
Sure.
latest designs are. You're wearing.
I am
beautiful-
wearing Windchill Warning, a version of it. And, if you've heard, the dickie is back. So you can call it a cowl if you're not comfortable with that. But, we all joke that's really what it is underneath. And so when I started designing, it's always, I want to solve something that I'm not finding out there.
Yeah.
I don't want to just repeat what is out there in most cases. And so I kept finding I loved cowls, but it would bunch. And I did all this beautiful stitch work and nobody could see it a lot of the time. Or I might want to pull it over my shoulder and it wouldn't pull over, or these different pieces. So I was playing around with construction. And the first one I did was inspired by the colors. So in terms of my process, sometimes it starts with colors. And these are two different versions of the same because I do change things as I go with the design. So here I wanted something that was going to go over my shoulders and not bunch and show my stitch work. And so you'll see I really kind of called this like a split hem cowl.
So pretty. I just love the colors in that one. And the yarn is?
The yarn is Biscotte yarn. It's DK Pure, and it's 90% merino and 10% silk, which is sort of the glow.
Yeah. Their yarn, that's the color work, but both of these are Biscotte.
Yes.
Right. And I just saw their yarns at Vogue Knitting, and it was one of my very favorites. So we might try to see if we can get some of theirs in the shop. So this is the second version?
This was the first version,
first,
actually.
and then this is the second.
To give you a little glimpse into what happens, I'm designing. I design on the needles a lot when it's a smaller piece because I can course correct. And I was playing with short rows in the back. And I thought that was going to make it drape the way I wanted, and it didn't. And so I thought about, just ripping it out. But sometimes you keep it because you want to go back to it and think.
Good.
And so I redid it. I took out the short rows.
Did you leave the triangle in the back?
I didn't. That was something I was playing with of how would I make it look. I was starting to embroider little trees and things.
Kind of fun.
And so I changed it here. And actually, there is one change until the final pattern, but most people wouldn't notice it. It's just with the transition here. And to give you an idea of how much designers do work at getting something just there was just a little piece I wanted it to drape a little bit better here. So it's slightly different right
Wow.
here. But most people
You wouldn't
notice.
notice.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. And this one's called
This one's called Wintry Woods.
Wintry Woods.
Yes.
And how about the others that you
So sure. So what happened is I thought, well, I want to make the best universal design I could. And I actually also designed jewelry. I used to do a lot more. And I realized there's really no universal design because some women or men, they want things close. They want to be warm. Others want it baggy. They can't stand it close. And they're always pulling it down, wider, shorter, and everyone is sized differently. So I started evolving that design to try to get the perfect one and decided there was none and I would just make 3 separate ones. So this one is called Shoulder
colors,
Season.
So pretty.
This is Rios, Malabrigo Rios. This was a sample knit that was just done for me in liquid amber and gris. And
Beautiful.
You'll see actually the design here is pretty much the same as the other one because I was working out, this was bottom up, this one's top down.
Yep.
Looks a little bit different, but then what I decided to do was to put in some short rows here, and I went down and made it more of this dickie style. And so when you're wearing it, it really shows off all this beautiful stitch work. And you know, if you're
you
wearing
can
it under
see-
something, like I called it shoulder season, it's good for
Right.
this shoulder season, March,
Right.
and you're wearing it under something like a jean jacket, you're going to see that beautiful stitch work instead of it being all bunched up. And it's not going to bunch at your back because this goes right over both of your shoulders.
Wow.
So
I
these
love that.
this was the first one I did here. And again, with the design
and this
process.
is the one when Erika showed me this.
Yes.
I was so taken with this part of it. There's something about that
Mm-hmm.
just struck me as so beautiful.
It's called Swedish weave. And if you
Gorgeous.
like two-handed stranded knitting, it's very fun. You can do it with one hand without a problem, but it is similar
Very
to
fun.
that.
And I just love all these different stitches that you've incorporated on these.
Thank
They're
you.
Just, and you can, and it's great that you can see all that hard work
Yes.
that you put in. And this is the perfect weather for these, because you might wear just a lightweight jacket, but you know, it protects your
Right.
neck. And if you're wearing something like I've got on today, it'd be perfect to have.
Especially with the wind we've been having.
Exactly.
So,
And I think we're getting windier.
we are.
I've decided to,
We are.
we didn't used to be so windy. Even I remember last summer, the wind all summer long. Weird.
And so the final 2 in this collection, this one is called September Garden Cowl. And this one was inspired by the colors. It's another more of a split hem cowl.
Yep.
This one's a wider neck.
Yeah.
I will say I designed this one with my mom in mind because she is one of the people who doesn't want it tight.
Yeah.
So this one does more of the drape when you wear it. Now it will depend on how much ease you have, and you can certainly knit it at a tighter
change it,
gauge. But
So
and this
pretty.
one is also bottom up. So I did 2 bottom up and 2 top down. A little something for
I
everyone.
love this. And then again, the Swedish weave. Oh, this is the Swedish weave again? Or
This
no,
is
different.
not.
This
I'm
is like a
trying to-
linen
This one
stitch?
it's a diamond tweed, I believe it's
Okay.
called.
I love that. Just
And
the
what the
way it
other thing
shows
I
up.
really-
just like a field of poppies. Or
Yes,
something.
well, exactly. And I brought, I don't know if these will show on film, but in order to see the inspiration of what's that like. So, you know, why this look? Well, these were hand-dyed colors, part of a club that I'm in. And they were dyed to look like a September or a late fall garden, which this is the garden I see when I walk. And so here's the idea that you have these little pops. And in that late season, they're coming through the weeds. They're coming through all that greenery that's left.
Ugh, I'm so envious today. This is just beautiful. And what's this?
This is the
another one?
same, and again, this is a sample knit that was done for me with Cascade, a very accessible yarn, and then something that this person had in her stash. There was a souvenir skein from a trip. It was hand dyed in Sedona. So the other thing I really like to do with my designs is, you know, we all see those skeins that are so gorgeous, and we have to have.
Buy one.
Yes.
And what do you do with it?
And so I love doing things where you can pair it. You can pair it with a tonal. Almost all of these are a tonal paired with a variegated or a hand speckled.
Cool.
And
they're
then
just
the
beautiful.
last one, I decided that we were having a cold spell this winter, and so I did one in Rasta. And this one is the same as the one I'm wearing. The one I'm wearing isn't in Rasta, but it is in Malabrigo. I held double actually, and this is in Rasta. So same pattern, a little. You know, I extended this one a little bit, but you have the bound off shoulders again. You can actually make the set because I like to be an efficient knitter as well. So what I did is I made a hat to go with it, and you can make the set with 2 skeins of your tonal and 1 of your variegated.
In an hour.
Yeah, practically.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great thing for like those single skeins you have.
Yes.
And for a quick project, for a gift, or just something really special to wear without doing the whole sweater thing. I just love how this came out. This is that sort of like a window pane or a stained glass
Yes,
kind
and
of thing.
this stitch was an interesting one. I chose it out of a Barbara Walker stitch book, and until I knit it and looked at it afterwards, it looked different to me. It was in black and white.
Wow, yeah.
And when I got this, I said, well, they look like F's. And to me, where it was Windchill warning, I thought freezing, you know.
Yeah.
And other friends looked at it and thought, well, F is, my last name is Field. But it really depends not only on dominance in terms of what hand you're holding yarn in, but color dominance theory.
Exactly.
So you'll see if you look in Ravelry at the different samples that it will jump out in different ways, even if people held the yarn the same based on color theory.
Exactly. And Barbara Walker, you mentioned Barbara Walker. Barbara Walker was an amazing designer. I don't think she's still around. She published, I have 4, I think, of her books. And I have one original one, a hardcover that was, a library was getting rid of it, I think. But if you ever want designs for cables, for lace, for anything, for stitches, go to her books. They're fantastic. And you'll see that if you think you invented something new, you probably didn't, because she's done it before. But they're a great resource if you ever see them. They are out now in paperback, but I do have one hardcover one, and I've used them a lot. So I recommend that. So do you have something new that you're going to come up with?
I do. I have something on the needles. I've probably frogged more this week than I've knitted, but it's exciting. I'm working on my first garment. I'm not going to, I don't think I'll start with a full sweater, but I'm starting with playing around with some shells and slipovers.
Fun.
And it's a lot of fun. I think a sweater won't be too far behind, and maybe a kid's sweater in the meantime. So
Great. Well, we'll look forward to March 26th, and you'll be here, and Irina will be here as well, which will be fun because you can talk to them. And Irina is Fiber Chats. She has a podcast, and we interviewed her here. Many of you will remember. And she is a great lace knitter, so maybe she'll bring... So she does amazing lace, and she hasn't been knitting that long.
No.
I was shocked when she told me.
In fact, she and I think, probably have a very similar anniversary to our knitting
Really?
journey. Yes, I just passed 5 years as well.
So it's amazing what you can do when you put your mind to it. And if you love something, and if you love designing, I have plenty of ideas. I don't have follow through. That's my problem. There are ideas spinning in my head all the time, but I just don't have the wherewithal to actually put it down on paper. So I admire you for doing that. I think it's really great. So we will look forward to the 26th, and again, we'll put out more information, and we hope to see many of you here. We have a good space. I have plenty of chairs. We just need to know how many, so if I have to get extra chairs, that would be great. So thanks again,
Yes,
Erika.
thank you. Thanks for having me, Nancy.
Great. Well, that was so much fun meeting Erika. What a lovely person she is, and a very beautiful designer. I just love her things. And when we did the workshop, the Aquina cowl that she did, we got a great response, and people loved making it. So we thank you, Erika, and please come to our knit-a-thon. I wanted to show you some new things for spring that have come in. Excuse me. These are some yarns from Mirasol in Peruvian cotton and silk. This is called Winku Alka, and I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. It's Winqu, Winku, and Wink, could be Wink. Winku, I don't know. And ALQA, Alka. Winku Alka. Well, that's what I'm going to call it. In any case, it's a cotton and silk, and it's a variegated. So if you're looking for a cotton yarn for like a summer cardigan or a tee, I don't have patterns, but I have some samples being knit, so we'll see a sample in the shop soon. This is a worsted weight, and so it's 4 to 5 stitches to the inch on a 7 to 9. So it has a bit of a leeway. The nice thing about summer knits is you can do them at a really loose gauge if you want. This would make a great summer shawl, or just a tank top or a cardigan. That's how I see it. So we have these colors. This is a very pretty purple and the blue, and it goes a little thick and thin, which gives it some texture, which is fun. This is called Laguna Beach. That is really summery. And a red, this is called Moulin Rouge. That's got pinks and reds in it. Very, very pretty. And finally, for those of you who like neutrals, this one is called Coffee House. So it's pretty brown and a tiny bit of a lighter brown and a beige. So that would be a fun cardigan, I think. So those are some new worsted weights. We also had a lot of people asking about sparkle recently. So I saw this and I thought, boy, this could make a fun little top. And this is called Lumi, and it is made of cotton, polyester, and other fibers. Well, that tells you a lot, other fibers. But it's got this sparkle added to it. So you can see, if you wanted to make something slightly dressy, you could also drag mohair with this if you wanted. For the gauge on this is a DK weight. So this is a blue called driftwood. Well, blue-gray I would call it, and it's got bits of white in it. This is a peachy color called Beach Rose. Robin's just showing me something that would be really cool. This is our favorite easy folded poncho from Church Mouse, and you could do this like on a size 8 needle maybe and block it out and get this great summer poncho to wear. So it'd be fun for the evening to have one of these that you can just throw on. This one is called Sand. It's got some gold in it. And then this one is another blue called Atlantic Blue. So I recommend these for a fun little tank top to wear, or again, this poncho, a cardigan. We have some really pretty cardigan patterns that would work for these. So, so sparkle up your life a little bit, ladies. The other thing I have back in the shop, and I waited a long time to get this. Robin, maybe you can grab those because I can't reach. We made, everybody remembers the Night Shift, this gorgeous shawl from Andrea Mowry. And this is 2 colors of Akari. And we were out of the pink. This isn't the exact pink that we used, but I think this will work. It was very hard to get for some reason. And this color is called, oh, they're going to get me today, Wakayama. Again, it's Noro Akari, and this is wonderful because you get a lot of yardage on here. It is around 400 yards, I believe. And it's a worsted weight on a 6 to an 8 needle. And to do the Night Shift, we used 2 colorways. So I took some out that I thought would work. This is another one called Hirosaka. I can't pronounce anything today, I apologize. So these 2 colors together would be really beautiful. And this is super soft. Or I thought these 2 colors were fun together. You could mix them up and do these 2. Anyway, I think we have some other colors too that aren't new we've had in the shop. And one of my customers is making a pullover out of this yarn, and it is beautiful. She's doing a top down, and it stripes very very gently. So I recommend this as a great summer knit. And again, did I give you the, here are some of the other colors. I think, is that this one? You can't tell because they're very similar. So this one is, yes, these two are the same, but so depending on how they're wound, they look different. This is another one. Actually, this is a different yarn that was in the wrong place. But you could use it. This is called Kakagori, which is another Noro yarn. I think it's a little bit lighter weight. Yes, it's a little lighter weight, but it would be still excellent for the night shift. So I recommend this for, you could do in a tank top. You could do it would be very nice as just, a long sleeve pullover or a little cardi. So they're in the shop. They are hard to get, so I recommend be quick and grab it if you're interested. So I think that's it for today. It's getting to be a little warmer out. I have tulips that are this high in my front yard, which is very weird for Massachusetts. I hope they survive because I just planted them last year. But it's sort of fun to see things coming up. So we'll send out more information about the Knit-a-thon, and I hope people will want to participate. It's a Sunday afternoon. There's no football on. There's not much. I don't think there's baseball yet. So come and join us. It's, I think, 1 to 4 is what we decided on Sunday, March 26th. So let us know. You can call us or email us, and we'll put you on the list. And donate. Get some friends. So it's not a big, not everybody has $100 to donate. I understand that. So if you can get, even get 5 people to give you $5, that would be great. So we will see you next week, and like us and subscribe. Take care. Bye.